Hey, I'm Edmund. I'm the creator of WebCrafter, the no-code 3D website builder Blender add-on, and this is the introduction video. We're going to go into what Blender is, we're going to go into a demo of it, how to install it, the basics of building, and then some more of the advanced stuff, and then I'll give you some next steps. So let's dive in. This is the homepage for WebCrafter, and it's a show over tell kind of situation. This is what WebCrafter lets you export. Full-on 3D websites, and it basically is making 3D web development going from hard to easy. This whole scene, this path, and this background is a Blender file that I've just clicked export on, and it lets you do things like add animations. If you notice, I'm hovering over this thing and there's an animation happening, and then I'm clicking on this guy and that it's zooming forward. So there's actually triggerable animations and also interactable objects. So that just opened up Google. But I'll show you now another demo, a site that I built entirely in WebCrafter. The last one I exported from WebCrafter and then added code on top, or vibe coded. But this guy is 100% no coding with WebCrafter. And this is kingdomstudio.xyz. It's my studio website for the software engineering that I do. So here we go. I'm just gonna grab from here so you can see a little bit better. So I'm grabbing the scroll bar, and as you see, as I scroll, there's some interesting stuff happening. We're having some matrix moments here, but isn't this freaking amazing? Look how cool this is. I want to do it again. I just can't get enough of it. It's so cool. So what essentially is happening is I'm scrubbing the timeline in Blender in my website, and that animation is playing exactly as my scroll position is moving. It's really cool. All right, so now
Hey, well, here Ames is a video founder of Kingdom Studio, and this is a studio of
me talking about the Kingdom Studio, and then I'm scrolling forward. I'm gonna just use my mouse wheel now. And here we go. Now I have some content to share about a Kingdom Studio. Here's another website I'll demo quickly on which is another WebCrafter website, and this is for interactive 3D music posters. So you can see these cool animations happening. You can see when I click on a button, click on an artist's name, it plays a sample of their music, and then also it lets me go and find that artist on YouTube down here. So just a full interactive video game poster for our music festival. All right, yeah, it's pretty sweet. There's a ton of potential and opportunities with WebCrafter. Now, one really nice component here is if I needed to make this guy more of a mobile display, notice how that is magically fitting perfectly on my screen. Well, that's a big feature from WebCrafter, and it's so that it fits horizontal and wide on any display, and that it also is performant. You can do things like have pop-ups, so you can have HTML pop-up. Feel free to come out here and write me a message. Hey, let's 13. And there we go. I sent my message. Off we go. But you can see it's just a legitimate, website that's usable in all sense of the word, with some really cool animations going on. So if you're more creative than me, and I bet you are if you're a 3D modeler, because this artwork is all just free artwork that I grabbed from the internet. But if you're more creative than me and ready to make some cool websites, let's jump forward and look at the actual WebCrafter homepage or the setup inside of Blender. All right, so I've already gone in and changed some things, but you should land with WebCrafter looking like this in a new scene. So let's do that. New scene. Don't save. Okay, so here we go. You'll have to test all these things open, but I just closed the project settings so that we can get an overview of WebCrafter. So it's a drag and drop builder. But what does that mean inside of Blender? It's more of a select and tag builder. The concept is that instead of pages in your website, you're taking your 3D scene, your entire Blender scene, exporting it together with one big model file, and then chopping up parts of it into pages. So maybe your home page is in this section of the 3D scene, and your about page is back there, and etc. And then you're building up a series of cameras, and those cameras for the scroll template will let you scroll through and move from your path to your destination. For the other templates, like the XR template, it actually gives you a full-on character that if you're on a mobile display or a mobile phone, a full character that you can just double tap to navigate. So it'll walk around with physics. And then if you're on a desktop computer, and then just regular old controls with the VR with Oculus is what I tested, but it should work on all the VR headsets. So yeah, those are two of the templates, and those are found right here. So backing up a bit, let's actually go into the WebCrafter preferences area, and you can do that. I have a little handy quick go to preferences button right there. But if you haven't installed WebCrafter yet, you would open up preferences in the top left corner, edit preferences, and then you would come into Addon and install from disk and install the zip file that you purchased from Gumroad or Blender Market or the WebCrafter homepage. Now, once you're in the preferences, you'll be greeted with an API key request, probably empty, not like mine. It should definitely be empty. If it's not, please tell me. That's an issue. And then you'll find some buttons to join our Discord or documentation if you are so inclined to read it. And then you have the API key for replicate. So the first thing I'm going to say is hop on over to click that button. And if you don't have an account yet, you'll be greeted with this page, which I can just zoom in a little bit. You'll just have to go and sign up with GitHub. And to do that, you can either create a GitHub account or use your own, which is actually going to be useful in the later steps. So I recommend doing this step also because Replicate is awesome and it's so useful inside of WebCrafter. You get access to all the latest image generation models and they cost fractions of pennies. Some of them cost 20 cents, 40 cents. So you'd be careful with that, but it says it typically on a model. If you click on this model, you can kind of see right here, it'll tell you how much it costs. And that's a pretty cheap image, half a penny. So yeah, then once you've gotten your token, so if you come to the dashboard, you get a not models, where is it? Settings. Well, that's why I have this handy button because sometimes I can't even find it. This handy button right here, that'll just take me right to the API key section, which is probably in the settings. Yeah, account settings. Oh yeah, you just click here and then go to account settings or API. It's at the top left corner. Anyway, so you get your token, create one if you don't have one, load a few bucks into Replicate, and you're ready to go. Once you do that, you can hit this validate button. You'll see a notification at the bottom and then also save key to make sure that it's good. If it wasn't a good key and you tried to validate, then you can see not a good key. So let's paste in the good one, validate and save. All right, then you're greeted with the templates. If you purchased the Pro or Studio, then you'll have all the templates unlocked. If you do not have Pro or Studio, then I'll show you just which templates you have locked or unlocked. And later on, I'll allow a purchasing for the individual templates that you desire instead of the whole package. And then also, once the community starts building up, we'll be able to allow and help with the support of community built templates, which is actually not that difficult. You basically can take a WebCrafter template, export it, and then modify it to your dream, to your extent that you'd like, and then share that file. And now you have a zipped template that you can import here and it will show up in the template area and you can use it just like the other templates, which is a really nice feature. We keep scrolling down and we have our one-click installation set up. So you're going to need all these tools right here. If you don't have the tools, then I recommend going ahead and let's see, where's my little helper zoom? Okay. I don't know if this is helpful, but I'll leave that there just in case. So if you don't have the tools, you're going to see an X right here. And if you do, then it's going to show you a check mark. If you just want it to work, you can just click this button right here and it's going to go ahead and open a terminal and install everything that you need. That means it's going to install a package manager, and that's Homebrew and Scoop. If you're a developer, you probably care about that and you might want to install manually. If you're not a developer and you just want it to work, then these are going to download some handy tools on your computer and it's going to let you keep things up to date really easily. And that's what this does. Also later on, let's say you come back in a few months and there's updates to Vercel or AWS, you can just click that button again. It will upgrade all of these packages for you. I always download these specific tools on Windows and Mac, and this is just the standard installation for those tools. So there you go. Super easy install script to get you up and running right off the bat. Then once you have Vercel, Cloudflare, and Wrangler and these guys installed, you can pick the one. I recommend Vercel because it's just the most, I'd say, easy to use and fastest. They give you a huge amount of support and you have private domains. You can use your own domain name really easily. So that one's the biggest, the standard one for creating websites. And it does the same thing. There's a little helper support script right here. Setup. If you click on setup script, it's going to run you through the installation process. I'm already logged in. So it just says, oh, you're already good to go. You're happy happy-go-lucky, just do the thing. So press enter to continue, and then you can close the window. So maybe I'll do an installation video on the specifics on how to configure all that, especially at AWS. That one's more complicated if there's requests there. So if there's enough requests for that, let me know, and I'll go and run through all that manually. So, all right, we have WebCrafter set up now. So it has everything we need to go and to do the thing. So yeah, the idea is build, test, and deploy. So first, you want to chop up your scene or build up your scene in components, like in the different pages that you want. And then you want to tag cameras in a relative to those zones. Okay. So right at the top at the WebCrafter panel, you'll first see project settings. This is where you can put the title for your website. Instead of Google, it says in the tab, it'll be whatever website name you want. So for mine, it was Kingdom Studio. In the last website I demoed, your name, the version, and then names or a description, so that you can show that description will be shown in the Google search engine or whatever search engine picks up and scans your website. Same thing, you can load a fave icon. So you can load a PNG or an image right here, and it'll show the little icon on the tab next to your name. And then there's a splash screen, as you were greeted in my demo video for Kingdom Studio. That splash screen, by default, each template has its own custom splash screen that's going to give instructions on how to actually use that template. And you can customize it too with whatever text you want. Okay, I'm going to turn off splash screen because we don't really need that for the demo purposes. Templates is the next section, and this will let you see what templates you currently have installed and what you can jump through. You build your website one time and it will work on all of these templates. That's a super nice feature, and I have never seen another website builder let you do that, especially a 3D website builder. You'll notice that this guy is right underneath the template configuration, but if I switch over to Orbit, then there is no template configuration. But if I switch to link in bio, oh, suddenly there is one. So some of the templates have custom properties and data that you can give it. Like the link in bio is just essentially a 3D link tree clone. So I'm going to import the helper here because they have a helper. So this is the card where your picture is gonna be, and your name and links and all that stuff. So this is just a helper to show you in Blender, so you can add your plant vines or your glowing god rays and you're animating stuff and water, whatever you want. This is just a helper. So you have a spatial understanding of where the stuff is going to go. Okay, well, if I open up template configuration, you're going to see, okay, here's where I can put my name and my bio, my image, and etc. I should let this be a file as well, but right now it's just a URL. So you'd have to upload your image to some sort like Dropbox or something, and then copy a link to the image and paste it in there. Okay. Then you have links. You can add a bunch of links or remove links in whatever websites you want. And then you can do the same thing with social icons. And these are like, the standard social stuff. So yeah, so you can make a really cool, amazing, out of this world link tree website that no one's seen before, and it'll work on mobile and desktop. This is a really cool template. I'm super excited to see how you creatives out there are going to use the link in bio to create something that's really captures people's attention, to give them a story while it's more than just links to your stuff. So yeah, anyway, that's that section. Let's jump out of it. So back to Orbit. Now we have the scene zone section. The scene zone section where you can create the pages for your website. You just come here. If you want a page, you click plus, you say home, and boom. Now you can see there's a bound with giant home text. I actually forgot to reset. This is the configuration for the viewport displays. So you can hide and show all the viewport displays. And I'm just going to scale down the text a little bit because that was kind of ridiculous. Okay, so there's my home page, and right now it's an empty page. There's nothing in it. Let me delete this helper. We don't need that. It's an empty page, but if you wanted to add something to it, now I just clicked on the, what's this, a cube. I clicked on the cube and then I clicked assign selected to zone. And now my cube is inside of the home zone, no matter where it goes. So now we have a home page, and that home page has just this cube. Very cool home page. Would keep. So now if you wanted to create some more pages, you can see maybe this is the contact page. You can see, it just happened to be the same green, but now we made about also. Yeah. And then We add another mesh. Let's add a UV sphere and put that one in the contact. It does the same thing. And that green's a little bit too similar, so I'm going to use this viewport helper to make the green more of a blue. There we go. Oh, don't right click. Blender doesn't like right clicking. All right, so now we've got our zones, our about's empty, but we have home and contact has stuff in it. And then if I duplicate, notice because this guy, I duplicated an object that was in the contact zone, it copies all of the properties from that to the other objects. So, and now because we have two objects, now it's growing in size. So we have our homepage is morphing. It's growing. All right. We have a homepage, we have a contact page, and it's annoying me that there's nothing in the about page. So we got to put something in there. That's going to go in the about. Oh, wait, wrong one. About. There we go. So now we have about and contact. Okay. Now, next up is our camera section. So you can see there's none out of 0 cameras. There is a camera list that would list all of the cameras we have in our scene. There's a quick button to create a camera, and then there's a previous, view, walk, and next. All right. So, oh, and also this button that will organize our cameras in the outliner. It's a nice feature because when you have a bunch of cameras and they're named random things, it's hard to tell what is what. So this will rename it and organize your cameras that are WebCrafter cameras. All right, so let's go and actually convert a camera into a WebCrafter camera. So I clicked on this camera that's by default in the scene, and then I'm going to come down here to the object settings area, and I notice that there's a button here that says camera waypoint. So if I click on camera waypoint, now it's tagged this camera. It's changed the settings of the camera to be a camera waypoint. And you'll notice if I actually come over to the object settings and I go down here, the custom properties, this is where we're actually setting this information and storing it for the add-on to read. So you can see there's a camera anchor index. There it is, anchor index 1. This is a camera waypoint. We're also calling it an anchor, etc. So that's why that's good to note, because if you're copying objects, it's going to copy all of the objects that are in the scene. And it's also good to note because it's super lightweight. We're just attaching and tagging items in our scene and then going to interpret that in the actual browser before we load. Okay, so I've tagged the camera. We have it here, and it is numero uno. So then we see we have just one camera right there, and it's not attached to a zone in our little helper area. So if we attach it to a zone now, so I can just click on the camera, come back to, what was that, contact, put it in the contact zone, and then click assign to zone. Now it turns blue, it matches that color, and now you have a helper frustum that's going to let you organize and move your camera. But it's really hard to tell if it's overlapping. Well, if this content is in the view of the frustum. So that's why these helpers are here. So if I click on the view button, it jumps into the camera, makes it the active camera, it makes it the view. And then if I click on this walk button, it immediately jumps me into the walk navigation. So I can use my keys to SD with E and Q to go up and down to frame my stuff nicely. And now if I come to test my server, we're going to see exactly this inside of our browser. Alrighty. So now we've got a camera selected, and because the camera selected, we can see other properties for the camera. We can hit this keep in frame button, and that will keep the content, that will automatically move the camera back to keep content in frame. So if we're worried about like on a mobile display, if we're worried that the content's not going to be fitting on the mobile display, that's when you would use that button and check that keep in frame. Now everything in the contact zone is going to be framed nicely in the camera view, so that, you know, if for some reason you had a camera really close like this and you wanted you want these spheres down here to perfectly fit up a little bit and this one to be scooted in also, then what you would do is use the keep in frame button, and that will calculate perfectly to scoot the camera back like this on your frame or in your website. And the same thing with the width and height. So yeah, so we'll keep that on, and then you can have a padding amount. So it's a 10% extra, is at 1.1, 10% extra padding around that object. Okie doke. So now that's with the camera settings, and that's the camera setup. So let's go and create a camera now with this create camera button for the about page. Boom. I just clicked on the create camera button. I'm in WASD walking controls, And I have a new camera, and I just clicked to confirm that new position. All right, now that I have that new position, I want to attach it to the about page. So I'm going to click on the camera, click on the about, assign, boom, and then I'm going to go into view and make sure that it's in frame. So that's good enough for now. So that's in view. And you can notice also this is the second camera because it's the second one we've added. What happens if we wanted to add a new camera, but actually at number 2, you know, maybe we don't want the about page to be second. We want the about page to be third. We could come here and click and mess with these anchor indexes, and that's going to change the order. Or you just click on a camera and then click on create camera waypoint. And now notice how you got 1 right there. You got 3 right there. And where do you think 2 is? It's on this new camera. So that's a nice way to manage your cameras, especially if you decide, oh no, I want this one to be at the end or at the beginning. All right, so now we can tag this home, and we have a home camera, about, and contact. Great. So if I click on an object now, you can see I get different objects in the object settings, or different options. I can make this guy a button or an interactable. I really should rename it to just a button because that's all it is. You can make it a media surface to have a 3D audio. So positional audio, which is louder when the camera is closer to it. I'll just start clicking on it to show you. You can see it popped up information down here, and you can see that's the audio. Or I could use video. I could change that from global to positional and then give it an MP3 or some sort of file or a URL right here. Which is really cool because you have positional videos. Then an interactable. If it's an interactable, then it could be just a button that should show a pop-up. This is the type. Then you give it a URL if you wanted, or just paste HTML inside of here. And then you can also make it trigger on click or on hover and on looping. And actually looping doesn't make sense for this case, so I need to remove that. But on hover or on exit and click, you can make this display that website, like the contact page I showed in the previous website, the demo. Then if you wanted to make an animated mesh, let's say you wanted it just to move around in a circle all day long, then you would create your animation in Blender as you normally would, and then just add that as a looping animation right here. So you click on your object, and then you click on this button here, which will grab the animation if it had one. If it has an animation, it's just going to grab the active animation and add it to this list. Or you can just click this plus button, and then it'll list all of your actions, and you can search for it manually. Okay, then you can do the same thing. You can make an animation play on click. So just sort of like it's a button actually. Yeah, it's just like a button, except it's just for playing an animation. So you can trigger that animation or someone else's animation. Any animation in the scene you can trigger on this mesh by clicking if you add it right here. And the same thing on hover and on exit. So if you hover over this guy, you can trigger a animation out there. And then if you hover out of that guy, then you can also make it trigger an animation. So some flexibility there to create some unique experiences. Then everything has receive and cast shadow on by default. If you come here and select these guys and then turn off, then they all have their receive and cast shadow disabled. So let's just turn off some of these guys. You can see how that works. And for performance, you may want to turn off shadows. That might help if you're trying to push a heavy scene. Okay, then furthermore, we have physics. Physics is so cool. So we have static type. You can make these guys physics objects. You can make it a static physics object, make it dynamic or kinematic. If it's static, it's not moving. Gravity is not affecting it. If it's dynamic, it's going to have gravity affecting it. It's going to bounce off of things, off of walls. You can give it more bounciness here. You can reduce the mass so that it's going to fly like crazy. You have a full physics simulation going on, and it's a hull collider. So that means it's going to, if you add a ball, it's going to roll like a ball. If you have a cube, it's going to clunk like a cube, etc., which is awesome. It's a really fun experience. And then also if it's, did I say that? It's static and dynamic. Oh, and kinematic. Kinematic, if it's kinematic, then you can have a object that has a collider on it, and you can animate it with the timeline. So it can go and be like a wrecking ball and hit a wall of bricks to open up your door or something, or make it so like the door is a physics object. And then if you hover over it, then like some animated thing makes it fly and burst open. There's a bunch of options there that are pretty interesting. And maybe later on I'll create like a video game template with this physics, like like Rocket League or something, which would be actually pretty fun to make. And is like 2 steps away. All right, then that's the object settings for normal meshes. So that's what you can add here. If one thing actually I should highlight is if you make a media surface and then you add a video to it, you'll notice that there's actually a new mesh that got added. It didn't actually add it to that cube. And this new mesh is added very specifically and purposely because the video frame the video is going to stick inside this frame. So if you make this guy bigger, then the video is going to fill up this frame as best as it can. If it's a landscape, it's going to go like this. If it's a portrait, it's going to go like that. So yeah, then you can change your volume as you desire and also make this play by default. This one makes sense to have it play by default, or let's click or hover, enter. And that means you can click on it to play and click on it to pause. Okay, delete that guy. Yeah, the habit of Control S. All right, so now if we wanted to use the AI image generation, you'll notice that it says save file before you can do anything, and the button is grayed out. So let's do that. I'm going to save it as untitled. All right, now we have it saved, and you can come here and enter in a prompt right here. You can select if you want to generate a texture or a 3D model. The 3D models are, I think they're hard to get right with the prompt, so I would study how the trellis prompts work. But I think you can get pretty impressive results. There's even more impressive results coming though. I love to show these guys off because I really love their quality of models. This is Sloy AI. It's actually a very cheap platform that lets you create some amazing meshes with AI. So here's an example. This is a full generated mesh with Studio Ghibli style. And you can see there's the wireframe. So, I mean, pretty dense, but not terrible. So anyway, you can get some really cool designs pretty soon built into WebCrafter. And I'm talking to their team on integrating it into the model option. So right now you can just do videos. So if you wanted to create a video or an image, sorry, cat in the hat, that's set. So if you wanted to create a quick image, come here, move the 3D cursor to where you want your image to generate, and then just click generate. It shows you how much it costs. So this one's 0.02 cents. It's done generating, and there we go. Now if I come here, you can see there's my cat in a hat that's sat, and it got this Dr. Seuss style and whatnot. And that's actually high quality. I mean, like that's a nicely generated image, and it took a fraction of a second and took cost a fraction of a penny. So you can come up with some really cool concepts with this. And the nice part is you can chop up this image. So you can actually use this as a mesh since it already is, or a background image, and just create like a bunch of different artwork and use that, as your content around your scene. Maybe you just mean filler and stuff. I don't know why he's on a mushroom. That's so funny. But anyway, so yeah. And then the models that are built here are some of the top tier models right now that are the cheapest and also highest quality. You have Nano Banana right here. And I label it as expensive. It's 30 cents a generation, but I use Nano Banana, the fast version, all the time. And that's the cheapest and highest quality I found. And then also you can hit custom model and go back on replicate, find the model that you want to try out. If you just come over to image models, maybe it's Flux Pro, and then you just copy this guy at the top, and you can just paste that sucker in there, and boom, you can try out any model, which is also very helpful. Then there's a remove background button, so you can remove that. Would in this case, it would crop out all of this stuff and give you an alpha mask pretty neatly to just give you that character. So yeah, that's a really, really useful utility. I've spent a lot of hours playing with that. And then also now we're ready. We have a site. Let's test it out. So all we need to do is come down to the test section. You can see you can leave the server port by default. That's just basically your URL number. You only have so many URLs running on your machine at a time. And this is one of them. Then so you can leave it unless it says in use, then you can go ahead and increment that guy. You can hit custom export path. So that means if you want to put this scene, your whole GLB file, because that's what it exports, into another folder. Let's say you're working on a website and you have that not inside of WebCrafter. That's when you would use that button. It lets you export everything in another place. Or if you wanted to just look at the GLB file and see, kind of debug and make it smaller, or more refined, more denser, you can hit this button and export with the same options that WebCrafter uses. Optimize with GLTF pack. That's a really nice tool. It's like absolute magic. It just reduces your GLB size in half, maybe even up to 90%. I've seen it. And you get no degradation in quality. They just take your textures and use fancier formats and take your vertices and just squash it down somehow. Okay, so then we're ready to start the server. You can just come here, click start server, and pretty immediately it should just pop up a server, and then it gives you some options. It says server's running at this URL. Go ahead and open the browser. You can enable debug and verbose. So I will just open the browser, close some tabs, and there we go. We have our browser running. And if I come to camera 1 and I hit this and I go view camera, you'll see that my frustum is matching almost exactly, but with a 10% padding. And it looks like that's just about exactly what is happening. Yeah, it's perfectly matching my frustum in Blender, but with that padding, which is great and exactly what we wanted. Okay, so now what else happens with our orbit template? So the orbit template, we have 3 cameras in our scene right now, and you'll notice there's 3 dots. So if I come here and I click play, it orbits around the home, or what is that? The contact page. And it actually shows you up here in the URL. So it says contact, and then jumps to the next one, which happens to be the home. And the URL changes as well. And it orbits around that guy, and then it's going to jump to the last one once that's done, which is a pretty nice feature. And it'll just keep orbiting like this until you interact with the page, and then it stops. So really perfect for showing off. Let's say you're a 3D modeler and you wanted to make your own portfolio website. I think this is a really good use case, because you can have basically just go and autoplay and go around your artwork, and it can be animated too. So you can have your artwork all animated, doing things, and you're just spinning around and experiencing it. Now, one thing that's cool is if I hit the back button, look at that. It's a real actual website that respects the back button propagation. So that's something you won't see in most 3D websites, but it actually works. It works as expected for a regular website. All right, so now if you notice, if I zoom out, I've got a really close clipping plane. And that's because by default, I don't know why Blender does this, but Blender uses a clipping plane. So if I come in here, click on the camera settings, and then I change my end plane from 100, which is tiny, to 1000, which is what I almost always do. Now I export. That's also respected. So now I can zoom out way more. You see, that's way more sense. Okay. Same thing. If I change the field of view here, make it smaller. Now let's make it bigger. Okay. Now that should have expected it. I don't know why I didn't. So I'll fix that, but it absolutely should have copied over that field of view. Actually, I think I know exactly why. Yeah, I'll fix that. The keep in frame is not just moving back. It's moving the camera forward, not just back. It really should scoot the camera back. So I will fix that before this release, but that's what's happening. It is indeed copying over the field of view. As you can see, now this field of view is the same as this field of view. Okay, so right on. So we have our orbit, our test server running, and then every time we want to make, I didn't even describe that, I should have, but if we want to make a change, then you just come over here and you click on export scene, and there you go. It live updates your scene over here to match your Blender scene. Super useful when you're iterating. All right, before we go too much further, I'll show you the hotkey that's built in. So Control-Shift-W is the WebCrafter hotkey, and it gives you a pie menu that has some handy tools here. One including export GLB that does the exact same thing as the other export. It's just way closer. Then you have a way to create a waypoint really quickly with Control-Shift-W. I can create another camera, and that's going to immediately jump me to, I think I'm on the 4th. Yeah, so I'm on the 4th camera now. And then if I wanted to make more, I can just keep doing that. 4, 5, 6. There we go. Look at that. I just made a sequence of cameras super quickly. 4, 5, 6. I'm going to reduce the UI scale. That takes out overlap so much. And yeah, now we have way more cameras really easily added. Furthermore, if you notice, if I have a camera clicked on this camera, it shows me the camera tools here, which is the same as over here. But this is very nice because if I click the camera, I click view, and then I click again with the pie menu, I can jump and look at all of my shots really quickly, ensure everything's exactly as I want it. And I can also quickly move them by going to walk. And now I have walking navigation. And I can do that for each one. Walk, move, walk. Right. And then when I'm ready, export. And now I have all of my cameras in the spot that I had set them. Ready. So that's the hotkey. Now I could also tag them as media devices, and in my environment, I guess, is not yet implemented, but you can tag it as media and not, and as interactable. And then also you can assign it to the active scene zone. So if I click on this guy and I'll click assign active scene zone, now he was snatched over and moved to that scene zone. Go back, click on this, let's assign to active. Now he's back in that about. There's also a nice tool here to let you quickly create text and let you select which font you want to use out of the fonts that you've already imported, which is super helpful when you're creating a bunch of text in Blender, because it's annoying to have to add the text, go to the text section, and then modify it. Now it also rotates it up and points towards the camera. So if I create more text, I can just really quickly create text exactly where I want it. So I guess it does a point when I'm looking at the up position, but at least on the X and the Y axis, it points towards you. Super useful. So I can create my imakesites.com. imakesites.com. That's a good name. It's a good name. So yeah. And also if you have hops, the nice part text is that it exports also just like a mesh. I recommend converting it to a mesh first, because there's way too much geometry in the extruded text, but at least it works nicely. So a good way to quickly iterate. All right, now we've got our test, our deploy, and then we've got our next step is a deploy. When we're ready to deploy, we can come here, click on this guy, and then select the option we want. We can deploy locally, which will build the code on in the folder we select, and export the source code, which if you do that, it's good to note that, let's say if I exported this guy, I select it, you have to, unless you want the code to actually go into the desktop folder without any parent folder, you can just do that. Or if you wanted actually to make sure that it goes into its own folder, you need to add another folder here. So, or create it in the GUI. So my web. Okay, so now if I go export and I export my templates, oh, I guess there was a double export. I don't know why that's there. And I go to my desktop, the downloads, and that's documents. Modified by date added. Where did it go? Oh, I put it on my desktop. That's why. Didn't I? WebCrafter test? Yeah, I think it's WebCrafter test site. Oh, there's spaces. That's not happy about that. Okay, so yeah, it exports your project and it gives you everything you need. Yes, it did work. It did work indeed. So it exports it directly into that folder that you select. So even if I typed this name here, it didn't do that, but it exports it as template and common. So these are the two folders that are exported onto my desktop. So you need to actually go and select a new folder. So if you wanted to put it somewhere special, then you create a folder here. This is how you do it. WebCrafter export. And when I'm there, I click accept, export my source, and then I export template. And now we have common and template exported into our desktop, which will show up here. There it is. Those are the two folders with the source code. Okay. Now when we're ready to deploy to a website like Cloudflare, you can say WebCrafter test 001 deploy. Now you can see the logs start populating. It says 15. It takes, I don't know how many seconds I should have counted. 20 seconds or so, maybe. Okay, it's done. And then now that it's done, yeah, it was like 20 seconds. It shows you all the log output for the file. Sometimes if your file is too large, over 25 megabytes, it's going to complain to you at least with Cloudflare. But yeah, now our website's ready. You can click open website. That button shows up and there it is. Now we have a live URL ready to share with the world. And that URL looks like this: WebCrafter test 001 pages.dev, which is already a very nice, simple URL. And the same concept works for the other deployments. So that's the basics. That's basically what you need to get going with WebCrafter. So let's jump into something a little bit more advanced now. And let's look at that project that had the animation scroll. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to just jump through some of the templates. Let's just go one by one, open them up, and then test them so I can show you what they look like individually. The first time you run a template, you need to install the dependencies. So that was the install step. All right, so now we can open up the template. There we go. We have I'll make this bigger. We have our link tree style website in the middle of our scene right there, which is going to match where our importer was, or our, sorry, template helper, import helper. So now that's what that looks like. If we can just move along, let's go to the presentation switches. It's going to install the dependencies first. Takes 10 seconds the first time, and then it'll be instant after that. All right. And there we go. Now we have the presentation. It automatically hot refreshes, and you can see there's arrow keys here. And on the left side, there's a slide deck. So you can see each slide. So if I click on these guys, it'll move me to the slides individually, or I can click on the next button down here, or I can click on these guys over here, or I can hit the arrow keys. Next. But you can see you can create a really interesting presentation just like that super quickly. Then let's go with scroll template, start server. All right, there we go. Hot reloaded. So as you can see, as I scroll, it moves the camera. It smoothly uses the field of view from the waypoints as it moves from one to the other. So one of those guys has a big field of view, which I remember, this guy. So as you get close to that one, it zooms out, which also lets you create some really cool effects. And that's the basic scroll. Now let's go to scroll animation. It's going to look the same because we don't have any animations in the scene. So we'll quickly create an animation to show that all. Oh, I didn't start server, export, refresh. All right, now we have pretty much the same thing, except the animations are being triggered. So what that means is if I come here, well, let me move this guy out of the way so you can see. I come here and then I'll actually make this, it's about one. I'll make that guy go from here until the end over here. So you can see I've just created a keyframe. Maybe I'll actually make him go back and forth. So it's a complete loop. Okay, so now if I export this and I start to scroll, you can notice, I mean, it's kind of hard to see, but we're not looking at it, but see how this is moving? Oh, zoom in. There it is. So we have our moving cylinder that matches and is actually going the opposite way as we scroll, which makes it really difficult to see what's going on. But it's, you can trust me, it's flying. It's moving in aligned with the scroll bar. Okay, next, Scroll Studio. Scroll Studio, let's install the dependencies. It's already up. And Scroll Studio is a really cool one because it gives you the ability to modify the HTML without doing any coding. And you get these nice designed cards ready to go with text that you can populate. I should probably add a background color so that you can put this on any background because this dark on dark doesn't really work. Or you can just come here and make it brighter. So I'm gonna make this just a blue background. Let's export. There we go. Now you can read much better. Yeah, it's way easier to see what's going on. And then these guys are in the wrong spot from the beginning, so I'm gonna move them away. Boom, boom, boom. And there we go. Look at that. We have a really cool website. And if you wanted to change these settings, you come over here, go to the top, template configuration, open up, and then you type whatever you want. Cat in the hat, but did each that. And then you're ready, you export, you see it hot reloads. And there you go. There's your text. So you can imagine whatever you want will work. Now the button also, you can change the text for the button or the link for the button and sell or produce whatever you want. Now it's a super easy job for AI to stylize this UI. So maybe if that's also of interest, I can create some tutorial videos for non-coders on how to actually take this and add some style to it that you like. There's so many free ways of doing that. Lovable is a great example. You can do it in Lovable and then copy and paste it into this website really easily, which is also amazing. All right, next template, almost there. XR. This is the big tamale. So XR template, install. See how long the biggest template takes to install. Maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, maybe 15. Okay, 15 seconds. There we go. We've got our template. Now we've got to actually do a full. Oh, okay. Let's stop and start it one more time. Sometimes it doesn't load up right away. I don't know why, but oh, we can see live what's going to happen. All right, let's open this guy. And it looks like everything should be fine, 8430, but it's not starting. So I'm going to go here, and sometimes browsers mess up. Sometimes the internet on your computer messes up. Then if that happens, you just come here and click server port +1, start again. And now I'm just going to open a browser, and there we go. That worked. So this is the first thing you're going to see. How do I zoom in? There we go. This is the first thing you're going to see with the XR template. It's because you need a secure website. And when you're testing, you can say, this is fine. Don't worry about that. It's going to say not secure, but that's okay. We're developing. So we know it's not going to be secure. Okay. Go ahead and hit the advanced button and then click proceed to localhost unsafe. That's how you get through this stupid page. And there we go. We have a a VR character with some cool goggles on, and I turn off the keys so you can see. And we have the keys that are moving around, and I can walk around my scene. I can hold shift to run. And then if I had a VR headset, I can click on this, but this is actually how you test the VR setup. You click on this. Now you can see I've got my VR simulation going, and this works better when you're actually on the headset, because it's, it's doing a weird test thing. Way too sensitive. This is moving me in a direction, and this is how I rotate. But it's hard to figure out how to use this thing. But the nice part is you can actually test the buttons, and you can move these guys around to point at a box and then click one of these, and that'll actually fire the same button on the controller, and then you can test if your buttons are working as you want and the pop-up is the right size and stuff, because that works in the VR headset too. And you can move this around and whatnot. It's very cool. Okay, that's the VR headset, and this one I love because it's just there's so many cool things you can do with VR and the physics and animations that run together. And since the player mesh is a physics object, you can actually have, like, I don't know, you can walk through a door and have the door hit the person, or like the walls kind of close in, or scoot the person up with an elevator. So it's like so many cool things you can build with this setup without any coding. It blows me away. Okay, that is the run through of all the templates on launch. There's more to come, including community templates, and that's pretty much it all. Now let's jump into the room just quickly so we can see. Let's save that so we can see something more serious, some more serious action going on, and I can show you one more cool helper feature. All right, so we're in our template here. We're in the room, and I'll run around to show you how I designed this thing to give you some concepts. All right, so I'm going to fly away with me. Fly away with me. Okay, the setup here is we have a camera, we have a Kingdom Studio, and then there's a big black wall with a diffuse material. That's nice because it's going to not reflect light and then give you it looks like it's going to be a regular website, but then you start moving in and then you get this cool effect. Cool. Yeah, it's cool movement. Now, if I come up here, I click on, at the top, there's an import helper button. If I click on that import helper button, you can see now there's a selected object, camera. So that camera is actually showing us what's going to happen inside of the browser. And it's actually going from camera to camera, and I'm giving you an indicator of what you can expect at what time. So this is how you queue up your animations. So if you know that the camera's here at frame 62, then you can say, okay, I'm going to start my animation at frame 50, and then by 65, it's already, on the other side of the camera, so it doesn't actually hit the camera. And you can test out your animations and make sure things look as you want them to. Very useful. Now, another thing we can do is we can come here on that little helper. We can go into view. We can lock our view onto that object, focus on it, zoom in, and I don't know why I can't zoom in more. Come on, let me get in there. I don't know why that's, oh, I clicked the wrong object, that's why. Okay, use the dropper. There we go. Now I'm very much underneath it, inside of it. I don't know where I am. Oh, it's below me? Above me? I am it? I don't know. Oh yeah, I am it. I have become that object. Okay, so maybe instead of doing that, I just want to look at it. Camera to view. I was able to lock it before. Well, there's a way that you can lock your camera onto this mesh perfectly. And then if you do that, you can see, you can just point in the right direction. Ah, there it is. So I'm just going to point my camera this way, and now I can see first person perspective of what that's going to look like. So if I turn back on Eevee, now I have some sort of indicator. Okay, that's going to happen. Then I'll move this, just kind of drag it to the right spot so I can get in front of it. That's okay. I go like this and just give me a little bit of an angle so I can see. All right, so now I can see what's kind of happening at that time, and I can tweak my animation based off of this. So that's a cool helper feature that's built in. So, okay, now let's just check out the scene without transparency. Okay, you can see we have a few cameras floating around. We have our text. All of these guys just have a regular animation on them. I was lazy. I didn't even change the name. You see, I just have a regular animation, just use the auto keyframing and move them in place where I wanted them. And that's all I had to do. I didn't have to hit anything else inside of WebCrafter, the window. All I did was add the animations and then just click scroll animation and export, and it does the rest. So now in here, part of that translation, so I'm going to go back to Kingdom Studio so you can see what this looks like. kingdomstudios.xyz. Okay, so you can see when you start, there's a point right here where the kingdom comes flying in, and then the camera goes straight down into a abyss. And it's like a transition point. Okay, well, that transition point is right here, and it's just below the ground. I just created a mesh with more diffuse black texture. I extruded it where I wanted so that you couldn't see anything while you're transforming in there. There we go. We can kind of see it now. And yeah, I did that because I wanted the space to feel like there was a change going on, like it was a completely different website or a different page. And yeah, that achieved that effect. And here, when you're ready, you can come in, and when you're ready to add an object or a media object, you can see that's what I did. I just clicked media surface. I added this text right here in this box. I made it it was already on click, and then I just rotated it so that it would fit inside the TV, and that's it. That's all I did. And I have my video, it plays automatically. And the rest, it's history. And then in this guy, this is probably the most complicated setup, but all I did was extrude out of the picture a little chunk, and then added a hover animation to it. And then on top of that, you can see that's right here. This is the hover animation. I don't even know if it's still on it. Yeah, so there's still a hover animation. You'll notice it's not on my timeline, but you can find it in the nonlinear animation track. So if you just go to the nonlinear animation track, there's all of the animations that are on all the objects. Click on this guy, show only selected. And now you can see there is the stashed action that has the scale, the hover effect on it. So you can just keep animating the same object, keep pushing down the animations onto the stack. And now you have a set of a ton of different animation styles for one object stored on one object. Yeah, so that's a really nice feature that you can do. So if I wanted to change this guy, let's actually stop the server, expand this out, and let's start the server. So you can see what a bigger server, the amount of time it takes. See, it's like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds or so to start and stop the server. And that's just to export. So you can see once, if you're not careful with the amount of textures, and your website gets up to 67 megabytes, it's going to take a while to go and iterate on. So you want to be really careful and selective of what you are using, but that's also a good indicator for how long it takes to load the website. So you don't want your website to take a long time. So you want to really restrain the amount of textures and sizes. Okay, so if we wanted to add another animation, we can come here. Let's go into the timeline. Let's go to start, and let's make just like I don't know, maybe a crazy one just for giggles. Crazy. Yeah, we'll start with a scale like that, and then we'll go out in 40 frames. We'll just make it huge, massive. All right, so now I'm going to rename this guy in the NLA track, massive, just so I can delete it right after this. And then I'm going to push it on the stack. So you'll notice it's still playing, but it's on the stack. So here I'm going to make it on click, on hover, exit. I'll do on click. Okay, so that button didn't work. I'm going to come here, right click, say start editing. And now I'm going to click this button. Okay, so because I'm editing, it's an active action. You can click this button, and it's super helpful. So you don't have to actually go and look through all of your actions or remember the name, but it's a good principle to name your things logically. And then just click that button, loads right up into the stack, export your scene. It'll load right back into the page we had originally loaded. Still has a splash screen. But now if I click on this guy, boom, it does that huge animation, and then it opens up a link afterwards, which is another nice feature. It should probably scale down after, but I could do that in the animation stack. But that's the general idea. Let's get rid of it. Stop editing. Delete that track. Delete, and big ol' delete. Save. Oh, well, okay. I'll figure that out after. So that's the run through. Then that's even going through some of the more advanced features. And I think in later templates, I'll show off some more of these fine tuning features, like the physics objects, the media surfaces and whatnot. But for now, I think that covers getting you started, getting you going, and then creating a really cool website of your own. So next steps, purchase WebCrafter if you have it, create an amazing website, join us on Discord, and share what you build. Super excited to help you and to see your journey go from 3D web artist to 3D web designer, if that is the path you will choose. It is up to you. I only give you the sword. The rest is your doing. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the Discord or to talk soon. See ya.